Welcome back, everyone, to Turtles Cove Media. Glad you're here. Whether you're here to watch, learn, or just need a small break from your very busy day, I'm glad you're here, and we're going to get right on into it. So we are picking up from last video. Same code, same everything. So, if you weren't here last time, please go watch the previous video. Otherwise, we're going to get right into it. So first things first is I meant to make one more adjustment to the code last video, but we're going to do it here. So if you come down to the screen variable, here we are setting up the actual window. So we have 800 by 600, and this is your width and your length of the window. And so while you can just put values in here like we did, and in a lot of cases you can do it with any variables running through your code, a good thing to do is, especially this is something you may want to more easily change, especially if you don't want to go searching through your code. As you start adding more things, it can be a lot more difficult. So we're going to come up here above background. We're going to add a couple more constant variables. And so we're just going to make a comment so we know what everything is. So for Python, you hit the hash or pound key, which is that tells it everything on this line is a comment. It won't try to run it or anything. And we're just going to say constant variables. And this is just so that we know what they are. Anyone that comes behind us will have an idea what we're talking about. So first, we're just going to put width, and we're going to type 800. Next one, and I believe I said width and length. I meant width and height. We're going to put the 600. And so we're just going to come in here. We're going to put width. We're going to put height. I'm going to save it with some Control S. Run it just to make sure it still works. It should. All right, still runs. And something you can do just to check these if you really want to, let's just set this to 400 real quick. Can downside to Python, it can sometimes just take it a second to run. There we go. We're going to set this back to 800. All right. So the main point of today is we want to start getting stuff up in that window. And so we're just going to draw what will become the paddles and the ball on the screen. So first things first, we're going to come up here and we're going to work on getting some things placed, and we're going to get some stuff placed and some variables set up so that everything works correctly. So first thing we want to do is we're going to set up the color for the paddles, and this will actually be the paddle and the ball, but we'll just say paddle color, and we're going to set it to white. Again, we have the RGB values, so black was 000, white is going to be 255 by 255, and another 255, and that will make them white. So just a couple other things we, at least right now, we're not going to be changing in the program. So we're going to define the paddle and ball sizes. And we will come back up here to paddle color. Going to put an underscore there, just make it easier to read. So we're going to have our paddle width. We're just going to start off, we're going to go with a 10, and that's pixels. And then paddle height, and we're going to go with 100. And then for ball size, we're going to go 20. All right, now that's just some of the pre-work. Now we're going to come down into our main. Again, this is where all the magic's happening. And so we have some other things to set up that we want to have set up before it actually starts running. So we're going to set up a few variables. We're going to have our player paddle, and we're going to call Pygame, and these are just going to be rectangles. Nothing super fancy. And so we're going to be setting up their sizes and just kind of where they're going to sit on the screen. So we're going to have 20 pixels away from the side. And then this is going to be some of our other default placements where we want them to sit on the screen. And this is where some more of our constant variables come in, so we're not having to type in a bunch of numbers. We can have easy to read variables and functions. So here, this first 20 is just, we're setting it 20 inches from the edge, and the rest of this is, so this is going to be its starting place. So our height, and then, so first two is getting it where we want it to sit on the screen, at least initially. And the next two variables we're going to be putting in there is the actual size of the paddle. And you can actually see on my screen where it does go through some of this. So we just put in the width of it, and now we're going to be telling it how high or how long we want the paddle to be. All right. So the AI paddle is going to be very similar, just we're going to be setting it to the opposite side of the screen. It's also going to be a rectangle. So here, and instead of just having some big number, in this case we'd probably have to put 780, we're actually just going to tell it whatever the width, however wide our window is, and we're going to bring it in 20 pixels. And then the rest of it will be the same as what we did for the player. Our paddle width and our paddle. And this middle section, all we're doing is we're taking the overall height of our window, dividing it by 2, subtracting out the paddle height, divided by 2, just so that it's sitting so they sit in the center of the height of the screen. So everything looks nice. So next we're just going to create a ball. Which not necessarily going to be so much as a ball at the start. We want to sit it at the exact middle of the screen. Oh, nope. All right. So here, paddle is ready to go. AI paddle is ready to go, and the ball is ready to be added. So at this point, they're created before it starts running, so the game's able to pull that information in as we initialize and it starts to run. So we're going to come down here between our screen fill and our Pygame display. We're just going to put in a comment. Can tell it, we're just going to say this is where to draw components. So we have Pygame dot draw, and it's going to be drawing rectangles. The paddle color, and then so all we're doing here is we're telling it we want to draw it on our screen, because you could have multiple screens. Telling it what color we want it to be. We defined it up earlier in the program, and what it is we're actually drawing, in this case the paddle. The AI is going to very much be the same thing. And then AI paddle. And then next, same thing with the ball, except for we're going to draw, and we're actually going to do an ellipse. Just to cheat a little bit, it's sharing the paddle color and then ball. Now we're running it to see if everything works out. And there we go. So here we have our two paddles and our ball. And the reason, although we call it a rectangle when we're initially creating it, the Pygame we're calling ellipse, and so it's able to take that information. It just gives us a nice ball to work with when we're actually putting everything out. Now, one thing I did notice, if I pull it back up, on the right hand side, our paddle's not quite where we want it to be. I can be a little OCD sometimes. Maybe this doesn't bother you, but it bothers me. So I think we're going to adjust the AI side, which will be the right side paddle, bring it in just to get everything's a little bit more even. So we're actually going to come up to our AI paddle. We're just going to change this to 30 pixels, and we'll see how that looks. All right, that looks a lot better. Everything is nice and even. So from here, this is our day 2 done. We have created our very basic game pieces. Right now they're just static on the screen, but very soon we will be able to get them to move and actually start having this be kind of like a game. Thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.